2. Okay, what's up, John? John Avenger here, guys. What's up? And it's May 25th. Today is Star Wars Day. Well, the official Star Wars Day. And I wanted to review something that's kind of Star Wars related, but is not anything that has to do with Disney Wars, because that is not canon for me. Today is the real day for Star Wars, the original films. And this is a parody of Star Wars from 1987 that deserved to. It should have made money. I don't know why this movie flopped. It's hilarious. It's not too long. It's only 90 minutes, I think. Yeah, 96 minutes. Yeah, and it is one of the funniest comedies done by Mel Brooks. Spaceballs. Yeah, I just read in the back that this is a full screen version. Oh no, this has both full screen and widescreen. Okay. Now, Spaceballs, I saw this movie when I was a kid. It was a PG movie, but it had a lot of adult humor in it that I didn't get at the time. But now that I've seen it a lot, I'm like, yeah, very, very funny movie. Just like the cast, this has a great ensemble cast, by the way. This counts for both Star Wars Day and Ensemble Cast Month, movie month. You got Bill Pullman as Lone Star. You have freaking Rick freaking Moranis as Dark Helmet. You have uh, Princess Vespa, played by Daphne Zuniga. You got the late great John Candy as Barf, who is like a mix of Chewbacca and a dog. You have Joan Rivers as the voice of the robot. Yeah, a non SJW female robot. So take that, Brolo. And you have Mel Brooks. He plays Yogurt, and he plays the President Scroobs, I believe. And yeah, he does, and he pulls double duty in the movie. And you also have who else you have? You have Dick Van Patten, rest in peace. He's the king. You also have George Weiner and other people too. I think Michael Winslow is one of the stormtroopers with the round heads, and he's like, I got the creeps, the bleeps, and the creeps. Yeah, he's the sound effects guy from Police Academy. But this movie's hilarious, man. This is how you do Star Wars justice, parodying it and parodying other great movies like Planet of the Apes and Alien and some other films as well. I don't know if they had a Star Trek reference to this movie because the movies had come out at that time, but they definitely you know they spoof everything that they could, and it's funny. There's no fart jokes. There's no one pissing in someone's face. There's no referencing a movie within a movie that doesn't make any sense, like these Seltzer and Freeberg movies, like Disaster Movie. No, this is a good parody. You got, instead of light speed, he's like, no, ludicrous speed. I love that. And then there's the scene where Scroob gets beamed up. That's kind of a Star Trek reference, and his ass is in front of him. That's funny. There's a scene where there's a meta joke that Deadpool would cream his pants over, where they said, "Guard, get a copy of Spaceballs the movie," and they get a VHS copy, which I love that because it's the '80s, and he puts it in, and they have to fast forward the movie while they're in the movie. That's great. I love that. And then Rick Moranis looks at the camera and he's like, what the hell am I even looking at? I'm like, yeah, it's meta. I love when they look at the camera and they reference that they're in a movie. That's great. And there's a scene where Rick Moranis says, "Everybody got that? Good." And I love that. That's the meta humor is some of the best humor when you do it right. But when you mess it up, you get stupid movies like the freaking what was that movie with Johnny Depp? Not Dark Tower, Dark Shadows, where the girl at the end looks at the camera. I'm like, why? It's not a comedy. This is a full comedy, and it does a lot of meta jokes. I love how they look at, and also Mel Brooks does another meta joke where it's like merchandising, where the real money of the movie is made, and I'm like, yeah. When Star Wars came out, the merchandise was so popular that they needed a freaking IOU to get the toys a year later. Nowadays, we get toys in the toy store and they don't sell. Yeah, but with this movie, yeah, they have Spaceballs, the lunchbox, Spaceballs, the T-shirt, Spaceballs, the flamethrower. Kids love this. Spaceballs, the doll. May the Schwartz be with you. Yeah, I love this movie. This movie's hilarious, man. I haven't seen it in years. I need to hear the commentary by Mel Brooks because the man knows how to do comedy. And he's like, and there's a scene, where Lone Star Bill Pullman, he does great with the comedy. I mean, he's done some comedies before. He did like, Independence Day and all that. But yeah, he's great in the film. He's like a mix of Han and Luke. And my biggest issue, I don't think Daphne Zuniga is a little bit weak for me. She's not really that funny. There's a couple of scenes that she's okay, but she's not Carrie Fisher. I mean, if she's spoofing Carrie Fisher, I'm like, yeah, you don't even look like Carrie Fisher. And I think Joan Rivers steals the movie more than she does, mainly because she's a kind of a stick in the mud. And Bill Pullman's like macking at her, calling her sweetheart, and she's Jewish, and I'm like, and they said and of course Barf looks at the camera and he says she doesn't look Jewish. That's basically a Jewish joke, but they can't say that in space, so they don't want to offend people. But yeah, she's a little bit weak for me. I don't really love her as an actress. I thought she was okay in The Fly too, but I don't know. She's just not Carrie Fisher. But anyway, but I'll take her any day over the cancer of this franchise. And you know who I'm talking about, including that new droid in Brolo. But anyway, yeah. The film is spoofing Star Wars. You have Pizza the Hut, voiced by Dom DeLuise. That's a good parody of that. There's this vacuum cleaner freaking thing that's basically their Death Star, and instead of blowing up planets, they sucking all the air, oxygen out of the planet, and they're like, suck, 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 and I'm like, yeah, kind of sounds like the last 3 years, hasn't it? Sean could quote me on that. But yeah, the soundtrack is awesome. They're flying in a freaking trailer, I believe. Yeah, is it a trailer or a bus? Yeah, like a trailer in space. It's great. The effects still hold up. Yeah, this movie has action sequences and special effects. There is no CGI in this movie at all, and the effects look great. Like the xenomorph that pops out of John Hurt's stomach at the end of the movie in this diner scene is not as bloody because they didn't want it to be R. And he's like, "Oh no, not again!" And rest in peace, by the way, John Hurt. And instead of the xenomorph like running away, it sings, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal." That's great. That's how you do it, son of the mask. That's how you make it funny without having horrible CGI baby doing the same thing. Here, it's done in a subtle way with a puppet, and it looks great. And it looks better than anything in Alien Covenant. So yeah, like this movie makes me wish that we were back in so we get parodies like this now, because nowadays it's just they say the F word a lot, or there's a lot of sex jokes which don't work. Here there's a couple of them, but it's not shoved in your face like in everything else now. But it's funny. Like it makes me laugh. Like there's a scene where they go into ludicrous speed, and then Rick Moranis is dark and was like, "My brains are going into my feet." And then he crashes, and then he has his helmet is crushed, and then he's like, "Smoke him if you got him," and then he falls. See, they're not taking themselves seriously. Last Jedi, freaking Force Awakens, they're making fun of themselves, and it's funny. It's meta. I love them looking at the camera because they don't do that in the new Star Wars. They can't be like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome." No, they don't do that because it won't work because it's not a comedy and it's not a freaking Marvel movie. So, but anyway, yeah, the film, it plays off like you would think. Basically is spoofing most of the Star Wars movies. And they go to a desert and they meet the Ewok, not the Ewoks, the Jawas, and they go ding 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 instead of going ooh teeny. But yeah, they get a lot of the stuff right, and they have a desert scene, and it's not freaking boring. Jakku, and yeah, and of course they fall in love at the end. Princess Vespa and Lone Star, who here's a spoiler alert that they give him a fortune cookie, and he opens it, and Yogurt, who's this version of Yoda, Mel Brooks, he says, "You're a prince," and like yeah, now he can marry Princess Vespa. So it kind of makes sense, and it's a better freaking twist than what they did in the last failure, where the hobo, she's a nobody. Oh, Snoke is not really the villain. Kylo Ren is, and he's still a bitch, and he's gonna be a bitch in the next movie. I guarantee you. And no, this is not a Disney Wars bashing movie. I'm just saying this is better. This is better, and this movie flopped. Where's the justice in this world when a funny comedy from 1987 that I watched as a kid makes me smile and makes me wish of that I was watching that in the theater? I would have loved to have watched this in the theater because Mel Brooks has a sense of humor. He's not trying to take himself seriously. He is a good filmmaker. That's why he's done so much and he's still living. He's like 91. Way to go, man. You're still hanging in there. And yeah, I still think this movie holds up. The jokes are funny. The film doesn't rely too much on the sex jokes. There's some scenes where there's a chick with a beard that pushes and like, And there's also a scene where one of the guys is looking down a nurse's shirt, but I'm like, hey, guys, admit it, nerd pack. None of you guys can say, oh, I never get horny. Believe me, we all do. We're sexual beings. That's not something you can hide from. If you have a reproductive system, you will feel something. Just that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna get too gross here. I don't want to get blocked or get a community guideline strike like last year or 2016. But anyway, Spaceballs is funny. This movie is a good representation of Star Wars. It mocks it without being disrespectful. Winkety wink wink. And the cast is really good. It's fun. I think just Daphne Zuniga's kind of weak in the movie. She's there. I'm not gonna say she's horrible because I've seen horrible. And also, there's a priest at the end that he's kind of funny, but he's only at the end. And there's some characters that kind of get just underused. But like I said, I will see this over the Disney Wars any day. It's shorter. It's more fun. It doesn't have horrible CGI faces, and it doesn't have a rehashed storyline. When you're making a parody, you have to reference stuff that happened in the previous story, but do it in a creative way without making it feel redundant. And this movie does that with freaking bells on. So that's my review of Spaceballs and the movie. And I would have loved to have seen a sequel. Rick Moranis recently did the voice of Dark Helmet in an episode of The Goldbergs. That was freaking awesome. That's how he came back, and he didn't do that god awful Fembusters movie in a stupid cameo. Because he has taste. The man can still act. He still has the voice of an angel compared to Phasma and freaking Kylo Ren and all these other worthless freaking people that are. You take some talented actors and you use them in the worst possible freaking way. That's why I'd rather stick with this. This is real nostalgia, not bringing stuff back from the past and making it worse. That's not real nostalgia. That's nostalgia porn. This is real nostalgia. So anyway, thanks guys for watching. Take care. I will watch. I want to watch this movie again. It's been way too long. I have seen it on TV a long time ago. I laughed my ass off. I used to watch it without my family because of some of the sex jokes. But let's face it, this is G rated compared to some of the R rated comedies from today, where they have to say fuck 100 times and it's just really forced. That's not funny. If you say it once, okay, but use it wisely. Don't just say it 150 times. You get it? We're R. We can say it as much as we want. No, not funny. Be like more like this because it's a good movie. I don't know why it took me so long to buy it, but yeah, Spaceballs is awesome. It makes me laugh my ass off, and really good cast, ensemble cast, and for the most part, and it holds up. It's a comedy that still is funny, and it's got a lot of people that are no longer with us, and they were talented, unlike the hack jobs of today. And Kathleen Kennedy had nothing to do with this movie. Who produced this movie? Ezra Swerdlow and and of course Mel Brooks himself, a real talent, unlike that hack J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Spaceballs. It's grade A if you ask me for comedy set in space and done the right way. See ya.